Awesome. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to kind of get started just because I only have about 45 minutes. Today we're going to talk about negotiating investments versus residential deals. I'm going to just assume that you guys know how to negotiate residential deals with other realtors. So again, I'm going to teach you some of the things that I do. You could use it also with other realtors too. And we'll kind of talk about it as we go along for the day. So my name is Anish Dave. I am president of BPM RIA. That's the Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade RIA in South Florida. Just in case you guys don't know, there are real estate investor associations all around the country. And I'll actually put it in the chat. If you're looking to work with investors and you want to really meet other RIA owners like myself, and I'll put it in the chat, nationalria.org. You'll find all the local chapters that are approved around the country. So that's a great way to meet other investors in general. You could actually meet contractors, hard money lenders, title company, flooring. They should have all that. The difference between a approved chapter versus an unapproved chapter, they actually do background checks. Every year we do have compliance, and it's pretty intense, and it's a great way to really meet investors, and in case you really do want to get into real estate investing too. So I've been a licensed real estate agent since 2004. I am a licensed mortgage guy. My background, I grew up in New Jersey. I have a degree in finance. I worked in banking for a long time. Read all the Rich Dad, Poor Dad books. I realized my dad is poor dad, and I was on the path of being poor dad. So for me, I said, I got to get into the other side of real estate. Started my own mortgage company, started buying a lot of properties in 2005, 6, 7, 2008. Got wiped out, meaning market crash. So some of you guys that have been around in real estate have been around that massive crash. So I literally went from millions to losing everything. And for me, I spent a lot of money on education. I spent well over, I know you guys have spent some money obviously on the coaching with Chirag. I've spent well over $100,000 this past year between mentorships, masterminds. And so I want to tell you and congratulate you guys on actually working on yourself and building your business. After losing everything, I didn't want to go back to corporate America. One of the things that I really got into was wholesaling and rehabbing, and I became a full-time investor. So I've been on both sides of the equation. I know a lot of you guys sell luxury. I did sell some luxury down here in South Florida. I just don't have the same bandwidth that you guys do, meaning sometimes clients can be difficult, and I bless you guys for being able to handle that too. So our motto at BPM RIA is called Real Estate Investing Made Simple. Let's not make this complicated. So a little bit also about me. My wife and I, we love to travel. So after losing everything, been traveling all around the world. From the Burj in Dubai, the 7-star hotel, to the Maldives, to Tulum, Istanbul. And it was this real estate investing that got me back in. So from a guy that lost everything to now, I could say I'm pretty much crushing it where I'm at, but I still got a lot more business to do. Some of the other things that we've also done here is, and Carol, I'll make sure I'll get that link working for you too. But otherwise, it's nationalria.org. Let me go check on that too. Thank you for helping me out there, Hassan. So one of the other things I did also work with the Miami Dolphins as the local real estate expert on wholesaling, rehabbing, and short-term rentals. I've also worked with PAC. So that's where I actually met Chirag, and that's the professional athletic community. We've been working together, actually, I guess it's been almost 8 or 9 months. For me, it's been pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting with Chirag, what he's been doing and what his coaching program with Compass and the team. It's been pretty impressive. I've been very impressed by you guys all the way through. Also, as a community, we talk about building a community here at the RIA. So our students, and every year we do a picnic. So let's kind of get into it now. Negotiating with buyers and sellers, right? So if you're actually, again, I'm going to use this as the investment side. Let's take off your realtor hat for a second. And let's say now you say, let's say, Anish, let's go buy some properties, right? And you're dealing directly with the seller. So I'm going to give you, I know everybody's in a different state. I could tell you in Florida, 1000% disclose you're a licensed real estate agent. So what I can tell you is if you're dealing directly with the seller, they do not care if you're a licensed agent or not. What they care about is, hey, do I have to pay a commission or not? So just make sure you disclose all the way through or check with your brokers in your area. So one of the things that I think is powerful is you always want to try to get the price from the seller or buyer first. Why do you think it's important? Versus, let's say, you call it, let's say you're doing mailers, maybe it's a family friend and they want to, I don't know, sell their house. And you say, look, the house is a mess and I don't want to get into listing it. I'm really trying to cross over to buy it. Why would you want to get the seller to give you a price first? Go ahead and put in the chat. So I'm going to ask questions as we're going, just to make sure you're still alive, even if you're eating a sandwich or breakfast. This way, I know you're listening to me a little bit. So what are some of the reasons? Expectations, yeah. What else? You have a target, yep, and you're exactly getting where I'm going to, right? Because what you might think might not be the number, right? So whoever speaks first loses when you're talking to a seller or buyer. They might want X amount, right? They might want $400,000. And you're saying, again, they're not experts. You guys are the experts as agents. It's your job to anchor the number. And what I mean by that is they might think, 400 or 500,000, whatever the number, 400,000. And you might have said, hey, through my comps, and I'm thinking about doing a short-term rental. Hey, this house is worth way more than 400,000. It might be 500,000. So what you want to do is try to get a number from them first, right? So you go look at the house or you call them and they say, hey, Nish, well, what are you going to offer me? You're the investor. So what I'm going to come back to is, Ann, and I'm picking on you, Ann, what price were you thinking? And usually they have a price in mind. So they might say X amount. I want $400,000 on that house. The second thing that you should do, right, is, woof, like almost, wow, that's a lot of money. Even if the number is not bad, you're going to flinch and be like, woof. And 400,000, you're really asking a lot. How did you get that number? Right? That's the next question you want to ask them. How did you get 400,000? What I get in my market, and every market's a little bit different. Well, down here in South Florida, what you're going to realize, every person has a realtor friend, a title company friend, or a lawyer friend. So my realtor friend said I could easily get that number. And, I know on the realtor side, we always have a different hat. We're trying to get them one number. And on the investor side, we still need room. So when they say $400,000, you want to, say, okay, well, your realtor friend said that. Well, how did he get those numbers? And what you'll always get is even if it's not their realtor friend, they did their own line or their own research online, or my favorite, the Zestimate, right? How many guys love the Zestimate? It's like the enemy. I always still it drives me nuts. And what they're always going to say is that house on 3rd Street sold for that much. My house is better than that. So 20 some odd years in real estate, I've never met the owner with the worst house in the neighborhood. They're always going to pick another house in the neighborhood or the Zestimate. So now you want to make sure you got a number, and that's where you start. That's a starting point. You might, because of, on the investor side, you might say, hey, it's a 3-1. I could easily add a bathroom. I could easily add an addition. or your business plan, your exit strategy is, I'm going to fix this up and make this a short-term rental. I'm running a business out of it. You might be able to pay up to $450. So you want to anchor them first. And again, so anchor them first, find out how they got that number, right? See what it is. The other thing is software, right? You can use, so in Florida, we use reafax.com, which is a software like PropStream. And you could show actually the low comps, number one. Reafax.com, what I really like, but it's only in 7 states. So they actually have a distress report. So I could pull up all the pre-foreclosures and foreclosures in the neighborhood within 2 miles. Depending on your MLS, you can do it indirectly. It's just not as easy. So again, you want to show them what's really happening in the neighborhood. You want to show our market down here in Florida. It's still rising. I know nationally, depending on where you're at, the market is changing and you're starting to see some adjustments. So you want to show them, whatever software you're using, the trend of what's really happening. How many more listings, days on market. So again, you're going to use their number first. You're going to find out how they got it, right? You're going to acknowledge, hey, Zillow is great, but I'm very sarcastic. So that's a Jersey me. It said, I wish I could get all my investment properties and sell them at the Zillow prices. And what you can, hopefully no one's on here on this call from Zillow. So Zillow's proprietary algorithm sometimes even takes commercial property per square footage. So that's how they get some of those estimates. And obviously, if you guys have been around and you've seen what's happened last year, Zillow tried to become an iBuyer and buy houses sight unseen, and they lost literally, I think, close to $1 billion. So there is, and you want to use those things against the seller. You're going to also use, as an investor, they're going to save real estate commissions, the 6%, and you're going to disclose. And now you're anchoring, right? Just like Ann says, you have a target, you're anchoring that number, whatever they get. So that's step one. That's what you definitely want to do. You always want to ask more than you expect to get, right? So now where, I don't know, you're dealing with the seller, right? Or you're on the other side, you have an investment property and you want to get more. Is, let's say now I got the property under contract and it's 400,000. So Mr. and Mrs. Investor on the other side, I'm going to ask you and say, hey, I'll give you I know you want it for 400. Can we do 420, right? So you're always asking for more on price. Whatever number they give you, ask for more. Again, these are not listed properties. So if you wait and you got a number from them, you just add some more. Add other things. What else can you add if you're the seller, right? And you're selling to an investor. What can you ask from the investor? What's a common thing? Go ahead and put in chat. What would you ask? I'm the seller, I'm selling to an investor, and I want to ask for more than I could get. What would you guys think? Just want to make sure our people are listening. And if you don't know, that's okay. Right? Closing costs, absolutely. Right? That's my favorite. That's the easiest. Depending on your dollar amount, I mean, that could be anywhere $5,000 to $8,000, right? On that end of it. The other end of it is if you're the buyer, it's the same thing, right? Hey, will you pick up, my closing costs? Will you, if we're the buyer, right? Again, I got the buyer's hat on. If you're talking to a seller and they own it free and clear, maybe it's some creative financing. Are you willing to hold a mortgage or a note? Even though they might not want to, you just want to always ask. Ask for something else, right? So you're going to start up here and you're going to ask for something really high and let them bring down. The worst they're going to say is no. If you don't ask, you won't get it. I see a lot of people, especially investors, they're just so happy to get the deal. They just want to get it under contract. They want to get under contract. They don't ask. So closing costs, right? It could be attorney fees depending on what state you're in. That's a common one also. It could be furniture, right? If you're actually buying something that's livable, ask for, hey, would you mind throwing in the furniture? No, that's going to be extra. So you want to always ask these things, because you'll be surprised, for adding every 10 things, they might get more, or I mean, they might give up one. So I live in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and I negotiate all the time. So I live in Las Olas, and I live in a high rise, and the whole building is rental. And my lease was up for renewal. And last year, living in Florida, of course, they raised my rate, rent 20%. And so here comes the renewal. They started with 8%, right? And so I asked for a ton. I said, look, I've been living here for a few years. Can I get another valet spot? Right? That was one of the things I asked. Can I get a free month's rent as a bonus? Can I get a commission for renewing? Can I get my place repainted? So I asked for about 6 or 7 things, and we went back and forth. No, we can't do that. Can I get another, and we're another valet spot? We just kept going back and forth. And finally they said, look, we can't do any of that, but would you be okay if we knock down the rent from an 8% increase to a 4% increase? So I was happy with the 8 compared to the year before, 20%. So I just asked a bunch of things for no reason. And of course, they're also going to paint my place. And it was just good practice, right? So I saved 4%, which is literally a couple $1,000s a year, just by asking for it, and also getting the apartment repainted. So these are constantly, even on the other side, as a real estate agent, I've done it. Investors, you could really work with them on the sell side. Same thing on the buy side. If you're talking directly to homeowners, you got to remember, a lot of times that this, they've only owned 1 or 2 houses ever in their life. So if you really start getting close to creative financing, and I've actually done a webinar previously for you guys about creative financing, it's an option to take over their mortgages, subject to lease options, seller financing. So you could ask all those things, right? And then also give them a cash offer. So they might just get overwhelmed. Anish, this is too much. The creative financing, I don't want to really hold a mortgage. I don't want to hold any of that. What was your cash offer again? So you're asking a ton more than you could get. The other thing, and I kind of talked about this, right? Never say yes to the first offer. So whether you're, usually, especially if you're trying to resell the property, I do a lot of double closings where I'm selling to other investors. What they'll do is they'll come up with a number. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. We have this house right now that we're buying for $335,000. And I put it out to my list for $399,000. So if you're not familiar with double closings, I'm just going to wholesale it. I'm going to do nothing to it. My first offer was for $350,000. And I could have signed the contract and made 15 grand. I said, no way on that. I'm getting other offers. I got a lot of other movement. You could obviously do this on the realtor side, right? If you're doing it with your listings. And now I just said, okay, great. Is that is that the best you could do? And I just kind of let it ride out forever. And I counter offered at asking price. I didn't even go down on price. So I countered back at the $399,000. After 24 hours now, what I can tell you is we have it under contract for $385,000. So we're looking to make almost $45,000 on this deal. And I would have been happy with 15, but you always want to push it. You don't want to always take that first offer. We just did a rehab on a retail deal. We listed it for $525,000. They offered me $500,000. I must have had about 30 showings, but that was the only offer I got. So I was like a little panicked down here in Hollywood, Florida. And I said, no, countered back at full price. About 2 hours later, because especially on the realtor side, right, they want to get this done. They came back at full price. The conversation I had with the buyer's realtor was, How many houses have you showed this client? And they're like, a ton. Do you want to lose another house? I'm getting a ton of showings. You know what's out there. And so my highest retail, here's the best part, was the highest comp at that point was only 475,000. So I got it for 525, 20% down, and the property actually appraised. So it worked out all the way through. And it started with, I didn't want to say yes to the first offer. So you want to push back when it comes to that. The other tactic, which I always like, is the walk away power and the time lapse. So one of the things that you can do when you're working with a buyer or seller, right? So if you're working with the buyer meaning buying your house, what you do is say no and let time go by, right? So if you have it even as a listing, you could kind of ride it out a little bit, right? And what happens on the buyer side, they're freaking out. Like, why are they not taking my 500,000 offer? What's going on? Right? So just give it time and see what happens. The mind will start wandering. On the other side, right? I'm buying directly from a homeowner. I do the same thing. Or even as a buyer's agent, I would do the same thing and let it ride and say, okay, that's our offer. And if not, I'm going to put another house against it. Or as an investor, I'm only buying 2 or 3 more houses in the neighborhood. We got our eye on these 5. This is the number I could give you, right? You can put the terms, whether it's closing fast, cash, whatever that is. And especially as you're watching the market change, right? This is for, it could be your listings. The other side, they're panicking. Like, well, why aren't they? They made an offer, they're not coming back. I got to talk to my client. I got to talk to my partner. So it's super powerful. The only challenge is if you're really firm, you might lose the deal, right? So on the listing side or as an agent, what I used to do is, hey, is it worth losing this deal? You've been looking at this house or houses for 4 or 5 months. Is it worth losing for over 20, 25,000? On a mortgage payment, even today's 7% interest rate, it's really not that much when you're talking about 25,000 on a 30-year mortgage. It's about $150 a month. And you want to just turn it that way. So I've done it where if I really want to push hard, I'm okay with losing a deal. So you got to figure that out. If you're working with clients as an agent, like, go back to them. Listen, I could really negotiate hard if you want, but are you okay with it? So it's powerful. I use that all the time. And a lot of times I'll use a combination of them. The other thing that always works is, and you've probably seen it as agents, hey, I'm going to offer you this, put it in writing, even with the homeowner, right? So if I'm on the phone, hey, I'm going to buy your house for 300,000. Oh no, Anish, it's too low, right? Well, can I just get your email? I'm just going to send you an offer. I'm going to send my proof of funds, my LLC. It's going to be a full offer. Maybe I put 0-day inspection because I know what I'm doing. There's enough room in there. You always want to put in writing. And especially, and I'm not talking about like commercial properties where you're going to do a letter of intent. Just the mental aspect of when a seller sees a contract in writing, they know you're serious. I can't begin to tell you, especially in our market, how many times sellers, whether they're in pre-foreclosure, probates, investors will just make offers over the phone or an email. Put it on contract, right? So don't just put an email with the terms. It's going to make a big difference, right? Let them counter. If you see them, right? If you're going to the property, I always bring a contract with me. I already have the numbers in mind, what I want to put on there. And I literally bring the contract with me. And I'm actually at the table, at the dining room table or in the house, and I'll fill it in. So a lot of newbies, they don't put in writing, right? And again, on the real estate agent side, when I'm even listing our rehabs, I tell them everyone to put in writing. I want them to go to the exercise. My attitude is if they can't even put it in writing in this day and age, it's so easy to draw up contracts. It shouldn't take you, especially if you've been doing this for a while, 2 to 5 minutes. and you're too lazy to do that, I can't take you seriously. Right? So put it in writing, you're gonna see a big difference no matter what they say, right? Hey, Carol, I know the number's low, but I'm just going to put it in writing. Can you present it, right? So legally, obviously, they should present it. Again, if you're dealing directly with the sellers, you want to put it in writing. So nibbling, right? So this is one of my favorite things. Nibbling, getting more after you agree on the deal. What do you think that means? And I'll give you, and I don't have any kids, but kids or teenagers are really good at this. And I'll give you the example. And I see this all the time. I go to my friend's house, we're hanging out, eating some pizza. The daughter says, listen, I'm going to go to my friend's house. And my friend goes, Johnny goes, yeah, go ahead, go to, whatever your friend's house. And right before they leave, what do they ask? Can I get $50 or $30? Right? So, the parent already agreed that you could do X. And even though it's agreed, you're just going to ask for something more. So this is always powerful on that portion, right? So especially in real estate. So you might have agreed already on the contract, right? It's already written. You could ask for other things, right? It can be, if it's retail like furniture, hey, do you mind if I get to keep some of those things? I don't know what else you're going to do with it, and you won't have to move it. On the investor side, I like using with the seller. It could be time, right? I know we agreed and it's a 30-day contract. Do you mind if I get an extra 15 days? Or do you mind on the investor side, because I'm going to wholesale it, do you mind if I get contractors in so I could get estimates? What I'm really doing at that point is I'm showing it to my other buyers. So that's all during the marketing aspect, right? So homeowner, right? The seller is Carol. I'm picking on Carol. And I said, okay, I'm going to buy for $300,000. I'll close in 30 days and I'm doing a 10-day inspection. Carol, do you mind, if I get some of my guys in there to look at it and get some quotes? I'll make sure it's a 24-hour notice if they're living in it. If it's empty, a lot of times I could get the lockbox. What I'm really doing is I'm marketing at that time. So I want to get this thing sold before I even close on it. So I can do a double closing or an assignment of contract. So there's a lot of different ways of nibbling, right? You can ask, I don't know, like some of the things that, hey, well, as a seller, I've seen this, have done this to me, which I didn't mind, was I don't mind, selling you at this price, but can you help me out with the probate for some of those fees? No problem. Because I know there's money in a deal and we're agreeing on the price. Or sellers have done this to me and I didn't mind because there's so much spread. It's great with this price. I need to move that out of the house. I don't have a place to go. Do you mind if you help me with, first and last security deposit? All right. So in my market, it might be $5,000. Our numbers on these wholesale deals have been $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. I don't mind if that's the case. On my side as a buyer, let me think, when the last times I nibbled, besides showing the property, moving, or asking for furniture or things that I really want to keep in the house, time. I know, I said we could close in 15 days, not 15 minutes. Do you mind if I get an extra 10 days? Or I made a contract assignable. I know we agreed on this price of X amount, 200,000 or 300,000. I'm going to assign the contract before closing. You're still going to get your 300,000. It's just that I'm going to put in my partner's name. They're going to fix it up and keep it. So you could do these things as you're going about. But the example I always use is, with kids, how many times have they nibbled all the way through? Right. So that's one of the biggest things that is super powerful in this business. And if you do it enough, right, it adds up. A couple thousand here, 5,000, 8,000, and you do 10 or 12 deals, it's almost another income, right? And on the I guess on the agent side, you could talk to your client, right? And say, hey, we could agree this. Let me see if I could help. I could get them to pay some of your closing costs, maybe your moving costs. So these are different things that even on the realtor side that could make you different from other realtors out there. And your clients will be super grateful on that portion. So it's super powerful. Never offer to split the difference, right? I just call this being lazy, right? You offer 200,000 and they want 220. Well, let's just make it, initially, let's just split it. Let's go to 210. Everyone wins. You don't need to do that, right? They say 220 and you could go up a little bit, right? And say 202, right? On that portion. They might come down to 215, right? You might go up to 204. They might come down to 210. And now you split the difference. So you've knocked it down. Now you're at 206. Indirectly, you saved $4,000 on that portion, right? So don't always, hey, let's just make it easy and split the difference. Come up with a number, right? Same thing on the seller side. You got 220 and that they offer you 200. Well, you might come down to 218. They might come up to 205 or 207. And just using that little technique, and obviously if your numbers, I know some of you guys are in bigger markets, when you're talking about $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 and it's 950. And all of a sudden you give back 25,000 for no reason, just to make it easy. I know in the commission side, right, it's not going to be that much of a difference. I get it. It's going to save you some money. I mean, it's going to save you a little bit, or you won't make as much on the commission because it's minuscule. But your sellers and buyers will love you more on the agent side. The difference is if it's your money and it's real money, right? Like you're the buyer and you save $20,000. That's a big difference, right? That could be a kitchen. That could be a commission on the other side. Think of how hard you work to make 20 grand. So just practice with and these techniques, you could do this with anyone, right? Like just practice, even with your kids. If you have kids, hey, can I get $50? Well, I was only going to give you 25 or on that end, and they want to split the difference. Well, how about 40? And you just go up to 30, right? Whatever that number is, just to get practice. Again, I've literally made hundreds of thousands of dollars by using these techniques and getting good at it. And don't feel bad, right? Again, it's negotiation, it's tone, right? So you don't want to be, I don't know, the nicest way is to be an ass about it. The other technique, always ask for a trade-off, right? If I give you this, right? If I give you closing costs on the house, then can I keep the furniture? So when you ask for the trade-off, it literally stops the nibbling, right? So I'll use the kid aspect. Hey, I know I'm going to Johnny's house. Can I get $50? Well, I'll give you the $50 if you, I don't know, do these chores around the house and do all these other things. There's a good chance they'll say, nah, I don't need the money. It's the same thing on the negotiation side, right? If they ask, anytime you give up something, you have to ask for something. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm willing to, and again, in our business, the closing cost is probably the easiest. It just works out faster on that portion, or it could be the deposit. Hey, I want a larger deposit. Okay, if I put a larger deposit, can I get extra days? Instead of 30 days, can I get 45 days? No, you know what, Nish, I'd rather be at the 30 days. Okay, then I'm not going to put more money on the deposit. So always when they nibble, right, the other realtor, investor, buyer, seller, always think of a trade-off. You want to use that. The other one that I love is the good guy, bad guy. I do this all the time, right? So I have an imaginary partner on all my deals. So listen, Lee, I'd love to buy the house from you at this price, but my partner, my Indian partner, you know how those cheap guys are. They're Indian. right? So I would love to give you 300,000. I know that's what you're asking for. I'll have to check with them, and so now all you're doing is you're pushing the blame on somebody else, right? You're going to push it on that person. So a lot of times I'll use the good guy, bad guy, right? Where I'm the good guy, and I use this on real estate agents all the time, is I'm the good guy, but my buyer, as as an agent, is the bad guy. The buyer is just, let me tell you, the wife is just really adamant that we can't go higher than this. Or my partner, right? On the buying side, I'm the investor. I don't even have a partner on this, right? It's just me saying I have a partner. So make up an imaginary partner if you have to, right? Let them be the bad guy, right? Because you don't want to be on the spot. One of the things that I've seen back when I was doing a lot of traditional real estate, like many of you guys, in the boom of like 2007 or 8, where things were flying off like crazy, just kind of like what we've been seeing. House was $1.2 million. We offered $900,000. The owner was an agent, and she told me everything. So the irony was we got it for about $950,000. And I got her to throw about $100,000 between furniture, stereo, all that other good stuff, just because she told me everything. And I used 3 other houses. I said, listen, I'd love for her to buy this house. I think this is the best house for them, but they're also looking at these other 2 houses. And on their side, I knew she was the owner agent. So I know her husband, and they were thinking, hey, they're going to save 3%. It really cost them almost 200 grand. If they would have just said, listen, my partner, I really got to check with my husband. He makes all the decisions. But I knew she made all the decisions. So the good guy, bad guy is awesome. So whenever you get a chance, if you guys are working on teams on the investor side, or again, if you're even selling or buying and you're working with either investors or husband and wife teams or multiple people, just pit one person versus the other, saying that, hey, I'd really like to do this, give you that price, or I'd like to agree these terms, let me check. And then use that time lapse and let it go on that portion. My other favorite one is you have to do better than that. So whatever price, when I'm selling or buying, they give me a price, I just always add, you'll have to do better than that. So and this has happened numerous times. Anish, I'm at, 250,000, right? After I said no to the first offer, they said 300. I got it down to the number I like, 250, and I was happy with it. I'm going to make money with it. And I always say, you have to do better than that. And then just shut up, right? You don't say anything. Then you just wait for them and wait for that awkward silence. And I can't tell how many times, Anish, well, fine, I can't take any less than 245. $5,000. I could tell you so many different times. I kind of joke about some of these negotiating skills, pretty much paid for a lot of our vacations. It's going to make you stronger and better as an agent, right? If you're not even on the investment side. One of the things that I actually told, the people that I worked with, I did sell a lot of luxury in the past, was like, listen, we all have access to the MLS, multiple listing service. The reason you're using me, right? It's not because I think it's going to look pretty, well, it's a $50,000 house or a $5 million house. It's because I'm phenomenal at negotiating. And when you get really good at this, you could start using that and probably pick up more buyers and sellers if you're still on the realtor side. But again, you'll do really well doing this when you're talking to homeowners. So wherever you're at, right? Always that, just automatically, you'll have to do better than that. And then just be quiet and see what, and they might just say, Anish, you know what? 250 is the best I could do. And you're okay with that. Using higher authority, right? So I use this all the time, right? I kind of joke about it. My wife is my higher authority. So I'd love to buy this house. My wife and I buy we're investors and we want to buy this. I know the number is this and what you're looking for. I love to get that, but I got to check with my wife or my business partner or my financial partner. So it's a combination, good guy, bad guy, but you always have to check. on that portion. Listen, I really would like, it makes sense to me, but I'm getting funding for this. So ton of time. A lot of times, even if I did have partnerships, I'm not even asking. I'm just going to wait. We already know what our numbers are. So super powerful when it comes to it. Again, that's buyers or sellers, and you could create an imaginary partner if you want. I love you guys, so I could be your imaginary financial Indian partner if need to be. If as the investor side, you could use Chirag, you could use whoever you need to, but it is one of the biggest powerful things I've used is that portion. The other thing is you want to congratulate the other people after the deal, right? So my goal, anytime I'm negotiating with anyone, I want it to be a win-win. Because especially if you're buying properties and you're working with other investors and you're selling them, you never want them to feel like it's a bad deal. So I know it's really important, even on the listing side or buyer side with other agents, and you might have those tough negotiations and do that. It's the whole thing, right? I would say, hey, Chirag, man, you really pushed me to it, but I'm happy we got it done. It's such a pleasure because you want them to feel good. That's going to make you work with them more. So the house I just sold for the 525, I got another investment house. We went back and forth on negotiation. I used about four of these techniques. And then I said, you know what? Congratulations. You've been so easy to work with. Let's go ahead and do it too. So that's some of the things. Those are my best practices on negotiating. One of the things, and I'll just show you some of the things that we've done in our market to give you an idea. So this is a house in Fort Lauderdale, right? Boom. Hoarder house, mess, probate, 7 or actually 8 heirs. And we 7 people wanted to sell, and we wanted to negotiate with we got to negotiate to 7. The 8th person didn't want to sell. So we convinced him that he could keep the other house and we'll take this house from him. So on this deal, we wholesaled it. We made about a $70,000 profit on this deal. And again, off-market properties. This is a hoarder house, right? So these are houses that we go after off-market, and we're negotiating. So the key on this one was we negotiated all the cleaning, the probate, not the probate. So it was about $8,000 to clean the house. We negotiated time. So he needed 2 months versus closing quick on this house. So that's why he took our offer, and we wholesaled it, and we made $138,000 on his house. This is negotiating a short sale. This one, the owners were, or the heirs were about to walk away from it. We included, we said, hey, you can make some money on the deal instead of walking away and let it get foreclosed on. We also said, okay, they still weren't feeling it because of the probate and how are we going to pay for that? So we said, okay, no problem paying for the probate. And then on this house, $180,000, we didn't do anything to the house. This is a rehab, right? This is the house that's all cleaned up, right? It's amazing what these houses look like. Again, we're going after off-market deals because that's where we make some big money on it. Fixed it up, did the rehab pretty quick. 67K, we did the rehab in 1 month. It just took 90 days for the loan. So not bad on that portion. This one was a duplex. Again, negotiated. One was in foreclosure, one was free and clear. So we said, hey, we'll pay off the one that's in foreclosure. We'll put some money in your pocket and we'll handle everything. You don't have to deal with the tenants anymore. 85-year-old man. And this one was pretty awesome. We wholesaled it for $265,000 tax-free. We used our IRA. So with the IRA, self-directed, maybe I'll do a class with you guys. I'll talk to Chirag about it. With a self-directed IRA, Roth IRA, you don't have to pay any taxes. So the money is tax-free. So and Carol, when we say wholesale, we didn't do anything to the house. The most I did was clean it. So look at this house. Order. So this is a great neighborhood down here. the person actually passed away in the house. So we're out there fixing problems. I would have walked away from this house back in the day, cleaned it out, and we made 110 grand. And then this house was a short sale, same thing. So we cleaned this one out, negotiated with the owner. They're about ready to walk away. They made some money. We cleaned it up, right? So all we did was get our people in there. And this one also with the Roth IRA, $145,000 tax rate. So to give you an idea, these houses we're getting for 150 grand, 170. The most expensive was those 2 duplexes were 315,000. We sold it for 625. And again, we're in Florida. Everyone says the prices are crazy. It's too much market out there. I mean, too much competition. The key is you got to fix problems and learn how to negotiate. So many investors went after these properties. They were not listening to them. We wanted to make sure each one of these people are happy and we make it a win-win. So we're picking different negotiation points. We're picking, it might be the time lapse, the higher authority, the good guy, bad guy. Is that the best you could do? So using those concepts will make a big difference. Our motto here is great real estate investors are trained, not born. My assistant, that's funny that she did this, but we do a lot of free webinars on Zoom. We also have our 2-day quick start. If you text the word join, you could hop on and, again, we do things from self-directed IRAs, insurance. I have experts on title, double closings, wholesaling, 20 ways to invest. It's also on our YouTube channel, but you can check out a lot of these events. We do have our 2-day quick start that's coming August 5th and 6th. It's A to Z, how to wholesale, rehab, all the above. The concepts we're teaching, obviously we're Florida based. You could do anywhere. Our member pricing is $495. Our non-member pricing $695. And I actually give you a money back guarantee. After the first day, you say, hey, Nish, this sucks. I'll give you your money back on that portion. So if you're interested, you could just click on the QR code. I know I'm already out of time, so I know these 45 minutes go by so quick. So I really apologize. I'm not sure if you guys, I don't mind staying around for a little bit. If you guys have any questions that you could either unmute yourself, put it in the chat on that portion, or any questions on negotiations, or put in the chat which one's your favorite one, or which is the favorite one you have used. And obviously, if you find any of my webinars, inspirational or good techniques, make sure you let Chirag and the team know. As I said, I'm very excited about what kind of coaching Chirag does and the people that he has in this organization and group. I'm always down to teach anything else that I could help you with. I live in the world of abundance. As I said, I spend well over $100,000 on my own coaching and mentorship and mastermind. So I definitely see the value on that portion. Any last questions before we hop off, and if not, that's okay too on that portion. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for joining me. And I look forward to seeing you next month. And thanks again for your help. And enjoy your day, guys. Take care.